Hey guys, today I'm going to be sharing with you our minimalist kitchen tour. So welcome to our kitchen. I'm going to be sharing with you what we have in it and what we keep, and also perhaps a little bit of what we don't. I'm super excited to get into this, but before we do, my name is Ashlynne if we don't know each other yet, and I make videos twice a week on this channel about minimalism and intentional living. So if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider hitting that red subscribe button down below. And with that being said, I do want to share with you our kitchen, but I also want to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there. First off, we have a massive kitchen, as you can see from the large amount of cabinets behind us, and as you'll see, we don't use all of them, and that's intentional. I think that these cabinets have a lot more storage than we actually need, and so we just use what we need and leave the rest empty and are perfectly okay with that. The other aspect of this is that Christopher and I frequently have guests over, honestly 2 to 3 times a week, and we'll often have friends stay from out of town. And so for that reason, even though there are only 2 of us in our family, we try to make sure that we've got enough cutlery, utensils, everything like that, so that any given time we can have 6 people over and prepare any meal we want. So those are kind of 2 little ideas to keep in mind. And then the final one is that Christopher and I, as a part of our job, actually host events for our apartment complex, which means we're often cooking, baking, and cleaning up after those events. And a lot of the utensils and things like that we use come from our own kitchen. Same thing with seasoning, ingredients, etc. And so we might have more than the typical minimalist couple would, simply because we do a lot of entertaining in terms of having people over for, you know, a couple of nights on end, and also because of the event planning that we do. So I hope that gives you a bit of context as we go and look at the kitchen, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you'll see when entering our kitchen is the fact that we've got a really nice island, and I try to keep it pretty clear without having very much on it. Occasionally I'll put out a little tray and do seasonal decorations, but for the most part the only mainstay here is our cutting board, which we use honestly multiple times a day. Now in this island we do have a couple of drawers on this side. First off, we keep our cutlery in here, and I think we have about 8 of each item. So 8 forks, 8 knives, 8 spoons, and that allows us to really be able to use up everything we have so that we can run a full load of the dishwasher. We like trying to conserve energy by not running the dishwasher more than we have to. Now in this drawer right here, this is where we keep most of our baking and cooking utensils. The only things that we keep in here, and in terms of like actual kitchen utensils, the only things that we keep in general are things that we use on a weekly basis and things that regularly get used. This one, the only thing that we have in here is a pair of oven mitts, and we use these guys all the time. Now moving down further, one cabinet in here, we have a few coasters. We also keep this little guy which helps open up cans and things like that. We also keep a spare rag in here, and then an apron that was made for me by my sister-in-law. So in this larger cabinet, we keep most of our appliances and some of the taller items that are too tall to fit in our other cabinets. So for example, we have our blender in here. I use this on a daily basis because I love making smoothies for breakfast. We also have a crock pot, which honestly, if it was just me cooking for the 2 of us, I probably wouldn't keep, but we do use it quite frequently when we're planning events. It's really helpful when you're trying to cook for a crowd. A couple of other things we have down here is barbecuing tools so that we can grill food. And then I was given a lot of candles for Christmas, and I use candles a lot, but that's kind of my stash that I kind of keep on hand. Those were all gifted to me for Christmas, so they will be used up eventually, but those ones are just kind of waiting on hand until we finish going through the ones we have currently. And then other than that, we've got a pitcher and a vase that we use frequently for events. Okay, so moving down, we do have a pantry and a fridge on this side of the kitchen. I'm not going to go into what exactly we have in those just for the sake of, you know, length of this video, but suffices to say that we have all of our consumables in there. So what we actually have in the kitchen, moving on to that though, we do have a toaster oven, which I use quite frequently as both a toaster and an oven. So up here is where we keep most of our dishes, and we keep all of our plates, bowls, cups, everything like that right here. So as you can see, I was telling you that we try to plan for about 6 people being able to eat with us on average. And so we've got 6 smaller plates, 6 larger plates, and then 6 bowls. I think 3 of them must be in the dishwasher right now. And that's really helpful so that we can be able to entertain, not have to run the dishwasher too frequently. And I really like that. It's really been the perfect number for us, allowing us to be able to host as many people as our space really fits, while also being a number that isn't too great for us. Now moving up, that's where my love of pottery really comes into play. If you've been following my channel for a while, you probably know that I have aspirations of one day owning an entirely pottery, like plates, dishes, and everything like that. And so I have slowly been collecting that. I have, I think it's 2 plates, a bowl, and 3 mugs at this point. I love the look of that stoneware glazed look. I think it's really beautiful, and it's just a way of adding a little bit of art to my daily life. Now at the very top, we just have a couple of containers, mostly that we use for events. Moving on, this is where the minimalism of our kitchen really comes into play. This is a 4-story high cabinet, and we've used 1 story, and realistically we've only used half of it. So this one right here we use just for all of our smaller ingredients, so like cocoa powder, baking powder, coconut oil, salt, pepper. Okay, moving on to this cabinet. This is where we keep all of our storage containers. So we have just a single set of Rubbermaid containers that all intermatch. I think we definitely could lower the amount of them that we have, but I still need to talk to Christopher about which ones he uses most frequently, because I don't want to get rid of something that he uses. And this cabinet is mostly used by him, if we're completely honest. He's got some things like cup, and a shaker that he uses after he worked out for his protein powder, and a couple of mugs that are sentimental to him. So this area is really his forte right here, and I know that I've mentioned this before, he's not a minimalist, and so I'm totally okay with giving him a little bit of space where he can kind of work with whatever he wants. That being said, in as much as he's not a minimalist, this thing once again is 4 levels high, and he's using 1 of them, and then the others we're using for storage containers. So once again, I mean, maybe it could be a few less mugs and a few less cups, but he's doing a great job. Okay, so once again, we don't keep too much on the counter here, but I do use things that we use really frequently. So the 2 of those things being our knife set right here. We probably don't need all of the knives on it, but it was a gift for our wedding, and we do use a lot of those knives pretty frequently. So rather than just kind of getting rid of select ones and having a half-empty knife set, I've chosen to keep the entire thing. Maybe if we upgrade to higher quality knives at some point in the future, we'll invest in just a couple high quality knives. But for now, I think that works perfectly. And then over here, we just keep the items that we use most regularly in terms of utensils, specifically for baking purposes. Those are all things that get used really regularly by us, so I'm totally fine with having it on the kitchen counter. I think that it still looks fairly minimal. And for me, it's more of a use thing. How much do I use them? And that's kind of what determines whether or not I keep those items. So moving down here to the cabinets on the side, on this one right here, we've just got all of our baking items, and we have, I believe, 3 cookie sheets, a couple of larger pans for, once again, baking, and then a couple of drying racks where when we've created something, whether it's cookies or anything like that, they can just cool off by sitting there. So moving to the other side now, this is what we have in terms of pots and pans and mixing bowls. We have a mixing bowls nesting set that we use all the time. So that's what we have in there. I believe we have a measuring cup as well. So just the essentials really. In this drawer right here, I have a single stasher bag, which I use to really just be able to put things like trail mix in or anything like that when we're going on a trip. And I also keep parchment paper and tin foil. Moving down in this cabinet, I keep all of my reusable bags, which are great for grocery shopping, but I also use them for when we're going on trips, and then we also have a wok for when I create Asian dishes. So in this cabinet right here, we just keep a couple of our daily vitamins, and then up here is kind of our first aid kit. I've just got my multivitamin, magnesium, melatonin, and a digestive enzyme. And then up top, we've got the regular things like ibuprofen, Advil, bandages, Neosporin, and things like that. Okay, so we're almost at the end here. Over by the sink, all we have is soap and a just area where we are able to keep our dish rag. I've been using these twist dish rags, which are made out of vegetable fibers, and they work really well, and I love it as an alternative to like the plasticky dish towels and stuff like that. And then the other thing that we keep in our sink is a washcloth. These are handmade by my sister-in-law actually, and we love using those just kind of in combination with each other. We figure like that's all we really need to be able to clean our dishes. Now in here we've got a couple more cabinets down here that we use. So we have our rice cooker, waffle maker, and mortar and pestle. Now moving on to the cabinets underneath the sink, this is where we keep all of our cleaning supplies. So we keep things like our regular trash bags, our recycling bags, because they force you to use plastic recycling bags here. Don't understand why, but unfortunately it's necessary if you want to recycle at our apartment. We also have our paper towel holder, and a lot of our cleaning products are from the 7th Generation brand, which I really enjoy using because they are cleaner products, which is great, but I also find that they're effective, which is something that in kind of trying to figure out from other cleaning brands what works and what doesn't. This is probably the one that I've landed on that I like how the products work the best. Really, this is the cleaning supplies for most of our house though, and so it just kind of all gets kept under there. And I've mentioned this before as being one of the few areas where I'm definitely not a minimalist, but it is definitely in my love for tea. This entire shelf right here is just my collection of loose leaf tea, and it is a collection that gets used. I have teas probably upwards of 5 times a day, so I definitely have it a lot, but I do like having a selection of teas that I can try out and go through throughout the weeks and months. So it is definitely a rotating selection, but I definitely keep more of a variety there than I necessarily would need to. And yeah, it's just like a really fun part of my day. It's something that brings me a ton of joy, and because it's something that I use on a daily basis, I haven't really felt the need to go through and get rid of any of it. So that's most of what these 2 shelves are for. I do also have my cookbooks off to the side, full of family recipes, which I absolutely love. And then I do also have some coffee supplies for the occasional day when I'll have coffee. And then we have our dishwasher, and that is everything in our kitchen. I hope that you enjoyed this kitchen tour and that it gave you a glimpse of how maybe minimalism can look a little bit different depending on your lifestyle. I think that it's very true that we definitely have more items than just the 2 of us by ourselves need. But when you take into account the number of times that we have guests over throughout the week, or people staying with us for extended periods of time, like a weekend or week, plus the fact is that we host events for our apartment complex where we're sometimes cooking for upwards of 50 people, it makes a lot more sense why we have the amount of things that we do. And I think that that really is a great concept to keep in mind when you're practicing minimalism, is that whether it's because you have a lot of kids in your family and so you've naturally just got a larger family nucleus, or you do a lot of entertaining or anything like that, I think it's important to keep in mind that as you're going through and decluttering and figuring out what adds value to your life. So I hope that you enjoyed this kitchen tour, that you maybe learned something or gained a new perspective on what minimalism can look like when you apply it to your own particular situation. So let me know in the comments what your minimalist kitchen situation looks like. Is it super minimal because you don't have too many people over and you like eating out more often? Or do you have a huge family and cook at home all the time for them, so you need a few more things? Let me know what minimalism in the kitchen looks like in the comments to you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this kitchen tour. I hope you guys have a great day today, and I love you all so much.